At this time, I'd like to call the November 16, 2017 meeting of the Revere Traffic Commission to order. Would everybody please rise and join us in the salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number one is going to follow under the title of public hearings. Item number one is from Council Novoselsky requesting to amend Schedule 9 of Title 10 resident parking sticker areas by adding the following locations. Walnut Avenue, both sides from Shirley Ave to Campbell Ave between 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. Monday through Friday except holidays. All those in favor? Seeing, hearing none. Anybody opposed? Seeing, hearing none. I'll close that side of the hearing. Open up to members of the committee.
So this is already resident sticker parking, I imagine. They're just changing the hours?
Yes.
Is that what he's doing here? Okay. I have no other issue with it.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor? Ayes. The ayes have it. Item number two is also a request from Council Novoselsky to amend Schedule 9 of Title 10 resident park sticking areas by adding the following locations. Garfield Avenue, both sides from Dick Street to Blake Street, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., Monday through Fridays except holidays. Anybody from the Dick Street area, Garfield School? All those, anybody in favor? Seeing, hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing, open up to opponents. Anybody in opposition? Seeing, hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing and open it up to members of the committee.
Mr. Chairman, Sergeant Janino, do you know why he only wants till 1 p.m.?
School. I think school hours.
Okay.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Ayes. The ayes have it. Item number three will be a request to amend Schedule 11 of Title 10 handicap persons parking areas by adding the following locations. 29 Delano Avenue and 566 Washington Ave. I'd like to hear from our department head, Ralph.
Hey, both of these locations we had put in last month that if we could do them as an emergency basis, and we just had to do the formalities this month,
Yeah.
so that they went in just to save some time, so they should both be approved.
I do know, I put 566 up myself, so I'll make sure that Delano was probably already up, but I'll make sure up, okay? Okay. Any opponents? Seeing, hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing, open up to proponents. Seeing, hearing none. Members of the committee, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, please.
Second. All those in favor? Ayes. The ayes have it. Item number four is from Council McKenna, request that the Traffic Commission amend Schedule 8 of Title 10 from Everard Ave southerly to Bennington Street to Belle Isle Ave, 15-minute parking school hours. And Everard Ave southerly, Bennington Street to Belle Isle Ave, 2-hour parking school hours. Any people in favor of this request? Councilman McKenna's not here. Seeing, hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing, open it up to opponents. Seeing, hearing none, I'll open it to members of the committee. Members.
Mr. Chairman, for the 15-minute parking, what will the sign say? School hours?
Yeah, 15, go ahead, Chris.
We're trying to remove the 15-minute parking off this here. We're going to remove the 15-minute, and we're going to add 2-hour parking. Currently, right now, it's 15-minute parking, but people are going in there, pick the kids
Oh,
up and
okay.
stuff.
So the same
And the
signs with 2 hours.
We're changing it from 15 minutes to 2 hours. There's not enough time to go out of school in that short period of time. They're getting tagged.
Roger.
Motion approved.
Second. Aye.
John Avenue, Tobin Avenue, Beckett Avenue, Frank Avenue, Gilbert Avenue, Blanchard Avenue, Wadley Avenue, Lawson Avenue, and Archer Avenue. Proponents, Councilor Powers.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members. This motion was put in as a result of two things that are happening or have happened in the past several weeks. First of all, there was an accident down on the 1A, car coming off that ramp. They're going 60, 70 miles an hour, no regard for public safety. That's the first reason. The other reason is that in the mornings, the traffic backs up on 1A, and a lot of the people, residents from outside, people from outside the city that are not residents, go in on John Avenue or one of the other streets to beat the traffic that's backed up. And the problem is that there are children like these children sitting here that are waiting for school buses that are crossing Mills Avenue to get on a school bus. I'll get off a school bus and go home. And it's just it's an accident waiting to happen. And the residents down there that I've spoken to have a very valid concern for the children in that area, as I do. And I'd like to see this made one way. And you had mentioned something, I believe, earlier in the motion about excluding residents. I have no problem even including the residents, because I think what's going to happen is if somebody's coming down there and they see a resident pulling in at 7:30 in the morning, they're going to figure they can do the same thing, you know? And I don't know how many people actually read signs that say residents only, and I don't think the residents would have a problem with it, because we're talking about public safety. We're talking about children who could get seriously hurt or worse. So I know that I've spoken to the mayor's office. This requires some approval from Mass Highway. They are in the process of sending a letter right now to Mass Highway regarding this. So I would hope that the commission would look upon this favorably. And it's not a big imposition. You're talking about 2 hours in the morning, 5 days a week. Myself, I go down there, I use the turnaround, because I can't help but believe that someday there's going to be something serious happening down there. And it's too much. So I would hope that your body would look upon this favorably, and that we could get the signage up as quickly as possible. I've talked to the mayor about that, and of course the superintendent, and we'll move ahead if we can. Thank you.
Any other proponents, people wishing to speak in favor of this?
Good afternoon, everyone. I live on John Avenue, and should I identify myself? Ricky LaCentra, 30 John Avenue, sorry. I live on John Avenue, and the traffic from the North Shore comes right down from 1A, onto John Avenue with the children waiting for the school bus, and they're just flying. They fly through the stop sign at Mills and John, and it's crazy. Most of us on John can't even pull, back out of our driveway. We have to wait. So it's getting kind of crazy. So I'm all in favor of, putting the signage up there. Once it's up there, if we could have like an initial enforcement, would be great. Then word would get around to people from the North Shore that you can't cut through there. The only problem I have with not excluding residents, and I'm figuring, I don't, 7:30 in the morning, I'm not coming 1A and cutting down John or anything like that. But I'm thinking of one of my neighbors, Bob Gessick, who lives at the corner of John Avenue and North Shore Road. If he backs out of his driveway and then comes down John Ave towards Mills, somebody will see him do that and say, hey, I can cut down too, you know what I mean? So if you just say, that's why I would keep, residents excluded, because if they see us backing out of our driveway and going down towards Mills, they'll probably end up following us. Or are we supposed to go up to the highway? Does it create a one-way street during those 2 hours?
The problem, I think, Rick, is you can look at that either way, that if somebody from the North Shore is not familiar with the neighborhood, takes that right, they're all gonna follow.
Right.
You know, so if they see a resident, I think it's more likely that if he comes out of his driveway and takes the right, then if every other street was excluded from that, then now you'd be adding, you're just multiplying that all the way down. So I think we're looking at maybe one house that potentially somebody may see him coming off of John. I mean, that's the first one right at the light. So I think it's probably, it's open to discussion, obviously, with.
Yeah, you also have the
Yeah,
school buses. The
correct.
school bus
Right.
directly comes
Yeah.
down John. So
Yeah.
if it takes a right,
Right, I
that's another
understand.
thing to
Yeah.
to consider.
But,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other proponents, people wishing to speak in favor of this? Seeing, hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing and open it up to opponents. Opponents, seeing, hearing none, I'll open this to members of the committee and their input on whether to exclude residents or leave it as it was proposed. Chief?
I think for enforcement purposes, it would be a lot easier if no one went that way.
Okay.
And so, I want to be
No, I hear you, man, that's
what the
why.
residents want, but now you're going to have to check every car versus if the cars go down there, they get a ticket.
Okay.
And if we're going to have residents only, we need to have the appropriate signage. But as far as backing out of the driveway, I don't know how that affects this. If you're on that street and you're
I'm
backing
familiar
out.
with the house, I know what you're thinking.
So that's one
Yeah.
house. I don't think
Yeah.
that's going to,
Yeah, I agree, Jimmy.
but we would need Mass Highway to put the signage up
Further
ahead
up
of
the
those
road,
streets.
Yeah, I'll do it, I don't care. I've done it before. They make me take it down, they can put their own up.
Just a quick question. So does that mean by putting these signs up between 7 and 9 a.m., all traffic, including the neighbors, are heading towards the highway? Or heading towards we can head towards Mill, I'm at the corner of Mills and John. I just want to
understand.
get a clarification.
I think the intent of the motion is to allow the residents to head towards Mill Street and be able to access out on Mill Street itself. Obviously, we have this same situations around schools. And, the people who are entrusted to enforce the law are well aware of what's going on there. And so it's not like it's not a one-way, it's a do not enter.
Right, okay.
So it's a judgment call. Yeah, yeah.
So our goal is people coming down North Shore Road
Correct.
cannot take a right turn on any of those side streets.
Correct.
The residents
All the
can go
commuters
down,
coming southbound. on North Shore.
travel the
Yes.
way they always do. They're not
Yes.
going to be one-way streets.
No, it's
Like
just a
to
do
offer,
not enter there at the point of entry on North Shore Road for those 2 hours. If the street doesn't become a one-way for those 2 hours, it's still a two-way street. It's just that you can't traverse that road during the hours of 7 to 9.
I have one last question. Are any of those streets one-way from Mill Street up to North Shore Road?
No.
Okay, then it should work fine.
Name and address for the record, please.
Robert Loeb, 19 John Ave. To direct to the chief's point, would it be worth the city's while to create a resident sticker for the Point of Pines, Riverside, something identifiable, so an officer conducting traffic enforcement would see that immediately?
For enforcement purposes, the car will be pulled over, and if it comes back registered and licensed out of an address in that area, it won't be ticketed. If they're licensed and registered out of the area, they will be ticketed. That means if your daughter lives in Saugus and comes down, picks the kid up on your street, she'll get a ticket.
I'll make a motion that we have no right turn for all vehicles.
So that's an amendment to the motion.
Strike the last line?
This time it will be amended. So at this point, Council's Powers' request will be amended to exclude all cars, not just cars coming. So the residents themselves will also not be able to, if they're coming from the North Shore between the hours of 7 and 9 o'clock in the morning, they're going to have to continue down to the end at Mills Ave and take a right to get into that area. But I think for the overall safety for the community, I think this is the right thing to do, and I'm going to support it. So at this time, I'll file an amendment that we change it to include all residents and not exclude residents that live in the area. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to emphasize, this is still contingent for the residents on Mass Highway's approval based on the letter
Correct.
coming from the mayor's office after tonight's meeting.
I believe that.
So this
letter
isn't
was
going to
already
happen
on the
tomorrow
way.
morning.
That letter is in the process of being written now, so we can include the amendment, delete the amendment on it, and,
Correct.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, very good. I have a motion to approve as amended. All those in favor? Aye. The ayes have it. Okay,
So basically it's going to say, do not enter Monday to Friday, 7 to 9, that's it.
correct. Okay, and now we have a couple of requests that have been added to the agenda this evening. The first one is by Council McKenna, who requests to amend Schedule 8 of Title 10 by adding the following. At 140 Taft Street, a 2-hour parking sign in front of BT Cuttery Beauty Salon. All those in favor? Anybody in favor of this motion? Seeing, hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing and open it up to opponents. People who are opposed to adding a 2-hour parking limit at 140 Taft Street. Seeing, hearing none, I will open it up to members of the committee.
Mr. Chairman, this is not a public hearing, correct? This is just a
It's
request.
a request, it has to order to a public hearing, right?
Yeah, I think we're setting a bad precedent if we allow this. It's going to permeate throughout the city, because there are a lot of home occupations that exist in the city and in residential areas, and I would say we table the request.
Okay. I have,
Mr. Chairman, is this business on Broadway?
no, it's on the side of the street. 140 is down the middle of the street.
Oh, it's in someone's home?
Yes, it's not in the business district. I have a motion on the table from Member Stringy to leave this on the table. I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. Item number 1 is tabled. Item number 2 is a request to amend Schedule 11 of Title 10, handicap parking persons areas by adding the following locations. The first one is at 68 Endicott Avenue, and the second one is at 572 Park Avenue. Ralph?
Both of these two locations, they actually were supposed to be put on for the public hearing for this month, from last month. There should be no opposition for both of these. They should both be approved, and if we could do it as an emergency basis to get them approved. I have all the paperwork and all the pictures. If anybody wants them, I have them here on the laptop, trying to save paper. So I have them here for anybody to see. The resident of 68 Endicott, they do have a driveway, but it's very, very narrow, and he does use a wheelchair and can't get in and out of the vehicle with a wheelchair. And the resident at 572 Park Ave, even though you see a driveway there, that is not that resident's driveway. It's the neighbor's driveway, so they only have 2 feet of it. So there's no driveway. And this one came up a while ago, and it was denied because they thought that the driveway belonged to that house. So doing further research, that driveway does not belong to that house.
Okay. So you would like to request that these be put up on an emergency basis?
Yes.
Before it's confirmed at the next
Yes.
regular meeting?
Yes, please.
At this time, I will make a motion that we order it to a public hearing, but in the interim, I will have the people in the sign department put these 2 signs up on an emergency basis, as they clearly stated by our Handicap Affairs Director that it meets all the requirements of the handicap parking regulations. Do I have a second? All those in favor? Aye. The ayes have it. And request number 3 is a request to amend Schedule 11 of Title 10, handicap parking areas by removing the following location, and that's at 91 Suffolk Avenue. Okay. There's a note attached to this that says that multiple addresses are tied to this one handicap sign. The addresses are 89, 93, and 94 Suffolk Avenue. Ralph? Go ahead, Chris.
I went up there this morning, the person originally had the 91 Suffolk Ave sign had passed away. The 3 addresses listed in the area all have driveways and or garages with ample parking. I recommend we remove the sign as soon as possible and remove the other addresses from the ordinance books.
And remove the other ones from the ordinance books. Okay. How did they get into the ordinance book?
They've been there for years. We have signs in the books that have been there for 30 years that have been gone.
Never been removed.
We're
Yeah.
finally getting it
So they all attach them to that one. Yeah.
Under the current chair, we're
Good.
finally getting hold of
Cleaning it
the,
up, very good.
getting
All right.
reins in on the handicap
Okay.
signs.
Okay, we'll order this to a public hearing at this time, but I will have that removed, so it can be memorialized at the next regular hearing.
On that note, I just wanted to add another late motion. I don't know if it was tended to come to me, but there is another address that I wanted to add, and we could add it as a motion to discuss next meeting if we want. But I have another address of 29 Rumney Road that they had inquired that I guess their father had passed away, and there's a handicap sign there, and they wanted to know how they could reapply to keep it. But doing my research, that handicap sign, even though it's on the books, should have never been approved there, because there's a very large driveway there.
Remove it.
I would say that we would move it. I talked to Sergeant Janino, we can just table it till the next month if anybody wants to come, if they want to come up for a public hearing and discuss it.
Well, they would have to request that a new one be put in based on
Right.
other conditions, because the person who had the handicap,
Yeah, and it should have never, but my
And that
feeling
one
is,
should have never been
it should have
approved
never been
initially.
put up because it's a very large driveway at that
Right.
property. Rumney Road is very tough for parking.
Yes, I agree.
So,
What's the address?
29
29,
Rumney Road.
yeah.
It's on the books as being there, but
All right, so
this
this
is people
time-
letting me know, so.
I make a motion that we order this to a public hearing, and I'll have this sign removed, and if they want to come up and reapply, they'll have to meet the current standards that are required as of today. Okay. All those in favor? Aye, the ayes have it. Seeing no other order of business,
One
do we
more.
have-
Yep,
Go
one
ahead,
more,
Ralph.
one more item that I'd like
Late
to
motion?
add.
Okay.
Yeah, late motion to add for next month for a public hearing, for schedule, is it schedule, I forget the numbers, schedule 11 to add.
Handicap?
Handicap, yes.
Yep.
Is 99 Ridge Road,
99 Ridge.
and we do have a couple of issues there that Sergeant Janino knows about.
Okay. So at this time, based on the information from our director, I will make a motion that item 11 of Schedule 10 is approved for a public hearing at 99 Ridge Road at the next regular order of regular meeting. All those in favor? Aye, the ayes have it. Any other late motions? Any members wishing to add comment? There's really nothing on here. Yeah, but those things are gonna be already taken care of. Yeah,
The meeting would be on the 25th, which is the Thursday before the long weekend. So if you want to
but I'll,
just cancel next month's meeting and pick up water in January.
Mr. Chairman, we'll just have it at the call of the chair. If a meeting's needed, call it. If not, January.
good motion, Chief. I think that's good. Based on the chief's comments, I think that if something of an emergency nature comes up, then I'll call one at the order of the chair. But as of now, we will not be meeting until January 2018.